Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to War Thunder. Now, while you're all out frolicking in the fields in the sunshine and jumping into various bodies of water, War Thunder went ahead and released patch 1.51. I think. Yeah, there's... Yeah, 1.51. Says right there in the top left-hand corner. Right-hand corner. Right-hand corner. Anyway. So, with this patch comes many exciting new things. Let's take a little look at what we got, shall we? Yes. Right, we'll start off with the US Army Air Force. We've got a couple new planes added, including the A-36, which is a ground attack version of the Mustang. It is, in fact, the preliminary version of the Mustang, from which the real Mustang was derived, I do believe. It's called the Apache. It is a dive bomber. It was okay, you know, it worked. It was, of course, liquid cooled, so a couple of shots to the cooling system, you've shot yourself down an Apache. You can carry a few bombs, nothing too impressive, but it is quite an early war aircraft. It was used in Italy, I do believe. And of course we do now have the Helldiver, the SB2C-1C. This here was the aircraft that ended the Curtiss Aircraft Corporation. It was not all that good during the war, and the flight crews actually preferred the Douglas Dauntless, which this thing was supposed to replace. However, here in War Thunder, let's hope it does a little bit better. It can carry a wide assortment of weaponry, including 1,000-pound bombs, torpedoes, both kinds of torpedoes, and it has two 20mm cannons, which should be very useful at blowing up them pesky landing craft. Things like that. Yes. Now on to the Luftwaffe. Germany gets one new aircraft, the Dornier 17! Look at it! The Dornier has finally been added! This is one of my favourite aircraft of all time, and it's very pretty. Look at it. Look how pretty it is. It is a battle rating 1.7 bomber, the first bomber you'll now unlock in the Luftwaffe line. It has a fixed forward-firing machine gun and two defensive machine guns. So, like with most German bombers, it cannot defend itself at all. No armor, but a few bombs. There we go, 50 kilograms or 250 kilograms. And now the the BF-109Es get a new visual model. Here we go. BF-109E1. You get this nice blue on the side, which is more historically accurate. And of course the fake swastika. And they look very pretty. And let's have a look at the E3. Oh yes, very pretty indeed. Yes. Looks much more elegant than the old model, if I do say so myself. Doesn't have the yellow wingtips anymore, but oh well. Now, before I forget, the Buffaloes get a new visual model, so we'll take a little look at those, shall we? This one first, because we all like the Buffalo, don't we? Now, I think the engine opening is wider, and of course it's a little more clean looking. You can actually see all the rivets, and they're not just blurry sort of dots. Very fancy. And of course the engine isn't just painted on, you can actually see all the little cylinders. Lovely. Should we have a look at the F2A3? Of course we shall. Yes, look at that. Slightly more rectangular opening. Because I guess there was a difference between this version of the Buffalo and the earlier one, which was a very early model. Maybe even a prototype. And Thatch's Buffalo. It has a new visual model to match with the other Buffaloes, which you get in-game. Oh yeah, and the Buffaloes get more machine guns now. You get 3 50 caliber machine guns. There they are. 2 in the wings, 1 in the engine cowling, and 1 30 caliber machine gun. So yes, the Buffaloes get 2 more machine guns. Isn't that interesting? Germany, we've covered the aircraft, haven't we? Pretty much. There's nothing here on my sheet. Oh wait, yes there is. Derp. Germans get an IL-2, which should hopefully stem the onslaught of the Soviet IL-2s in ground forces. Now the Germans have something to hit back with. That isn't just a Stuka or a Henschel, which I'd say did a pretty good job already. Not entirely sure why this has been implemented, but I guess the Germans would have used this thing when they got their hands on it, because it was a very good ground attack aircraft. Despite what people might try to tell you. Soviet Union, not much added to the aircraft range. We've got a new premium... Where is it? This one. A new premium Yak 3 with a much better engine than the standard Yak 3 and better armament. It has two 20mm machine guns. So yeah, look at that size of that engine. Oh, it's much bigger than the normal one, isn't it? A little bit. That's a very long cannon barrel. Anyway, that's enough of that. The IL-2s get... Some of the IL-2s get a new visual model. The IL-2M Type 3. Here it is. Damn it. There we go. With a red nose now and fancy grey and green camouflage. That's very nice, if I do say so myself. Is that what you say? Well, it's up for you to decide. And the IL-2M Avenger gets a new visual model as well. If anybody's got one of these, you have now a fancy green and grey camouflage. Isn't that lovely? United Kingdom gets a couple new aircraft. Now, we have the much anticipated Hurricane Mark IV, which is the British take on the IL-2, essentially. It was used very effectively in the Mediterranean and North Africa, I think. It has a lot of armour. Look at that. Wrapped around the engine and the pilot, just like with the IL-2 and the Henschel. And it has two 40mm Vickers S cannons with 30 rounds. So there's not a lot of ammunition, but it should be enough to take out all those tanks that you won't be encountering, because Britain doesn't have any tanks yet. So this can't take part in tank battles. But what you can do is blast Stukas out of the sky, which is what most people will be using it for, I do believe. You also have a fancy desert air filter, so you can fly it around in dusty conditions. And there you can see the armour on the side. Isn't that lovely? Britain also gets the Fairy Firebrand TF Mark IV, which was originally conceived as a carrier-launched interceptor fighter, or something to that effect. And it was crap at that, so they turned it into a attacker or torpedo bomber, or basically an aircraft to carry explosives. What we get with it, well, look at this. Look at all these torpedoes, bombs, rockets, you name it, we got it with the Fairy Firebrand and 4 20mm cannons, which is always nice, and with 800 rounds of ammunition, so you won't be running out anytime soon like you would with the Firefly. So, very nice addition, if I do say so myself. Oh, one last note. The Hurricane Mark II-B has a new visual model. Yep, this has been moved back because it's being overlapped by the big number 3 now. Very nice. Doesn't say Navy on it anymore because it is, of course, not a Navy aircraft. And this is new, I think. Yeah. It's got a new dust filter, which makes it look stupid. But there you go. You've now got a new Hurricane Mark II-B visual model. Lovely. And last but not least in the aircraft agenda, Japan has a Kai 44-1, which many people say is the cutest aircraft in the game. I disagree. I don't like the look of it. Actually, it's not that cute. Yeah. I think the next plane we're going to look at is much more cuter, which is of course the J2M5. What is that? Here it is. Look at it there. Isn't it lovely? Very nice. Very nice looking aircraft indeed. Very tiny though. Or at least you think it's tiny because the canopy is gigantic. But if you look closely, the seat inside is very small. And of course the premium J2M4, which has two 30mm cannons, so you can blast those pesky B-29s out of the sky before they knew what hit them. And I think the nose is a bit longer because it's got this thing here. Is that exclusive to this aircraft? I'll have to check. It does look longer. Yeah. The J2M4 nose is longer, so you can sniff out all them things that... What was I looking at before? This is different. Yeah, this is the new J2M. I was looking at something different earlier, wasn't I? This is the 30mm cannon armed J2M. So there you are, with the Japanese aircraft. Yeah, that's what I was looking at. Derp. Right, tanks! America has two new tanks, or shall I say ground vehicles, for this thing is in fact not a tank, it is a tank destroyer. It is of course the M18 90mm gun motor carriage, or more affectionately known as the Super Hellcat, because it is a Hellcat which is indeed super. It has a 90mm gun mounted in the turret of an M36 Slugger, which is on a Hellcat chassis. So you got the speed and maneuverability of a Hellcat and the stopping power of an M36, which should combine to be a very potent tank destroyer and add another agenda onto the list of nightmares which will be troubling the dreams of all the German Tiger drivers. America also gets a very fancy new addition, the M60 pattern, which was used in the Vietnam War, and in fact until quite recently in American history, and is used by many armed forces today, including, I think, Israel. But look at that! That's what we like in a pattern. That fancy chevron grill thing. You can stare at that all day as you're shooting at the Russians. It has a 105mm Royal Ordnance gun, for this is essentially a copy of the British 105mm gun, complete with HESH ammunition. Very fancy indeed. What this does is it explodes on the surface of the target. The high explosive head squelches out onto it, and then it explodes, and then it spools the armour on the inside. It essentially breaks off little pieces of armour on the inside of the tank, which bounce around, giving everybody splinters and paper cuts and all nasty injuries. You also get, thin stabilised ammunition, high explosive no 400mm of penetration at a flat angle at all ranges. Plus, it's a very high velocity shell. But, you know, this is a lot higher velocity, but it has less penetration. Because this is heat. So yes, hopefully the Americans now have something which can deal with the horde of T-54s and IS-4s and IS-3s and aircraft shooting things. Very fancy indeed. That's about it for the American tanks, but don't go away now. The Germans get a lot of new vehicles, starting with the much needed Panzer 35T. The Germans finally at last get 2 reserve vehicles. Just like the Russians, the Americans already do. It's a very nice tank actually, it's very good. It has the stopping power equivalent of that of a M2A4 in a Czech chassis. So it's very reliable. Of course, reliability isn't accounted for in War Thunder, but at least it's got a better gun than the Panzer II. Speaking of Panzer IIs, the Germans also get a Neubaufahrzeug. I do believe I have pronounced that correctly. If not, well, there you go. This thing was a propaganda tool. It was essentially Germany's way of saying, hey, look at what awesome tanks we can build and such. Pretty much what the Russians did with the T-35, except smaller and better built. These things were used in the invasion of Norway. One was destroyed and replaced with one made of mild steel, so that hoping that nobody would notice, and basically used to oppress the Norwegians and stuff like that. In the game you can buy it for a bit of gold. It's actually quite expensive for a tier battle rating 1.3 tank, but they figured that, I guess, that everybody would want one because it's a new multi-turreted tank with a 75 and a 37mm gun in the main carriage and main turret and 3 machine guns. Now going up higher tier, the Germans get the much awaited Leopard 1. I saw some of these in Tank Fest last weekend and I must say they are very loud. It has a 105mm L7A3 gun, which is a basic copy of the British 105mm gun, so I guess we can expect the Centurion when the British tanks come out. If not, I will be very disappointed. Now, people are concerned about the lack of armour on this thing. It's only got 70mm sloped back at 61 degrees, giving you an effective thickness of 140mm of armour, which will not stop Soviet guns that are shooting at it at this sort of tier. The hull gun mantlet, not that good really, apart from this bit right here. This bit, 150mm, that's the thickest armour you'll get on this. However, I guess you think of it as a sort of tier 5 Hellcat. You don't rely on armour, you rely on not being seen and then shooting the IS-4s in the side. This thing, however, is to be concerned about. One big block of ammunition here, more ammunition scattered about, especially in the turret, fuel tanks, transmission, big huge giant engine. I mean, look at that, 830 horsepower that's producing. And yeah, be worried, don't get hit. That is the order of the day in the Leopard 1. But then of course that's not what it was designed for. It was designed to not be hit. Now the Russians get a fair few new vehicles, most of them premium, but some of them not, starting with the T-26-4. A very, very pretty tank, if I do say so myself. Is essentially a T-26 with the turret of a T-35, or an early T-28 with the short-barreled 76mm gun. Now, until you unlock this ammunition, this gun is pretty much useless. I've shot at Alf Klaring's Panzers and hit the turret, which is essentially a turret from an STKFZ 222 armoured car, and it still did absolutely nothing. So basically it's pretty painful until you unlock the next ammunition. But when you do, ooh, you got yourself a little howitzer, and it's pretty bloody good. And oh my god, isn't it cute? Now moving on to the SU-100Y. This is essentially a Navy-built vehicle. It wasn't built by the Navy, but a lot of it is using Navy parts. It has a 130mm naval cannon, which makes me wonder why it's not called the SU-130Y. Maybe it's for secrecy reasons. And I think this is a Navy engine from a boat of some sort. It might not be. I'm sure somebody will correct me, or we'll all go ignorant. It's mounted in this simply constructed but wholly inappropriate box, armoured with only 60mm of armour all around, which will not stop most things that are shooting at it at this tier, 5.3 battle rating. So you're facing tigers and panthers and stuff like that, you know. However, this gun is unstoppable. Don't expect much armour you'll face to resist that shell. Now moving on to the T-34-100. This was essentially a Russian idea to mount a 100mm gun onto the chassis of a T-34-85, and of course the turret. Although this turret has been heavily modified to mount this massive gun, which, you know, is a logical step up from the T-34-85. They thought, well, maybe we can squeeze some more use out of this venerable T-34 hull. It wasn't successful, of course, because it didn't go into production. It was replaced with the T-44, sorry, which mounted a 85mm gun, so I guess it wasn't all that needed. If I am wrong, then please do correct me. So yes, that's exciting, very expensive though, holy crap. Damn. And now the final installation into the Russian tech tree, the mighty T-10M, which was originally going to be named the IS-8, but then Stalin went and died, so they named it the T-10M, because everybody pretty much agreed he was a bastard and shouldn't have things named after him. Quite right so. And well, this is a very potent Tier 5 vehicle. It has that 122mm gun which is found in the SU-122-54? This thing. Which is a very powerful gun indeed. And, oops-a-daisy, now it comes with a turret and armour. So be afraid. Be very, very afraid. This is one of the main reasons why the Germans decided to build the Leopard with no armour, because you either have mouse levels of armour, which will only sometimes stop this gun, unreliably so. I mean, look. It's got fin stabilised ammunition and all, 400mm penetration. Yeah, this thing will go straight through the front of a mouse turret as well. This, not so much, but yeah, you know. So what they did was they decided to scrap the armour, say, let's go for speed and gun instead. And they gave the Leopard speed and gun, no armour. So basically, if you get hit by this thing, yeah, you're not going to survive that. or at least you're not going to survive for very long, because many of your crew will have been killed. So yes, that's pretty much it for patch 1.51. There are a few new interesting things, such as the new map, Finland, which is snowy and cold and beautiful. There's many flight model tweaks, far too many for me to go through now. It would take many minutes of your time. There's also a new feature in battles. You'll get this message pop up say, "Oh, so-and-so has ordered you to go kill 3 tanks along with these other people who are also going to try kill 3 tanks." Which will mean immediately that you'll not kill another tank for the duration of that order. They've added winter camouflage for pretty much every vehicle that didn't have it already, apart from the Panzer 35T, which is unfortunate, but I guess this thing wasn't used during the invasion of Russia anyway. They've added forest camouflage for all Russian vehicles. Now, without further ado, let's show you the new damage indicator model screen, the little tank model in the corner of the screen. Draw your attention to the bottom left hand corner of the screen. You'll see a new model for what the tank looks like. It gives much more detailed information as to what is damaged within your tank, even though it is a little bit more harder to see. If you can't see all that well, if you need reading glasses or whatever, this may be not all that beneficial. However, it does give you more information, and also it gives you an idea as to how many crew are left, whether the driver is injured or dead or whatever, and whether the gunner's wounded, and also all manner of other information that pops up when it happens to be damaged. I think the game might have crashed. No. There you see, bottom left hand corner, and the game's lagging out again. Very fancy indeed. You can, of course, you can see exactly what is damaged on the aeroplane. Lovely. So that is patch 1.51. It brings many interesting new features, along with many other smaller features which are no less important, but they are far too numerous to go through in this video. If you want to go check them out and read through the extensive patch notes, they are available on the War Thunder website. Anyway, so hopefully you will enjoy this new patch. I know I might. I might not, of course. I might be very sad. But hopefully not. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully you'll join us for the next proper episode where we will finally have a look at the Kai-10s. All of them, in fact. I've decided to go down a new route. Just doing one vehicle per episode would in fact take several years to do. So I'm going to do multiple vehicles in each episode where I can. Hopefully they'll have some sort of relation with each other. For example, I'm going to do all 4 Kai-10s, and then I will do the rest of the, here they are, P-26s, and then I'll do all the P-47s, all both of them, stuff like that. So yes, thank you very much for watching. Bye bye.